Welcome back to Milan Recording Studios. My name is James Pavel Shakaras, and on this rainy day here at the studio, I decided to bring you another video regarding the PX-S3000. Now, you might be wondering, if you've seen the other two videos I did of this instrument, why are you doing a third video of it? You've already done two. Haven't you talked about everything there is to talk about with this instrument? Yes, but actually no. Casio has actually responded to those two videos that I made of this instrument, and so I figured I would make a response to them in this video because the response wasn't exactly what I expected. For those of you who are new to the channel and haven't actually seen those two videos that I've done, let me explain the backstory of the Casio and why Casio would even feel the need to respond to the videos that I made. So let's start off at the very beginning, when I first played this instrument. We'll go all the way back to the NAMM 2020 show when I went to the Casio booth and played both the PX-S1000 and the 3000. I met a fellow there at the show named Rich Formidoni who seemed like a very, very nice guy, and he was even nice enough to give me an interview where he discussed the PX-S3000 with me. There were a number of things that I liked about the instrument. It was slim, it was light, it was relatively affordable, and Casio even put the prices up of these instruments at their booth, which is something virtually nobody does, so I definitely respected that. I liked the Casio PX-S3000 so much that when I got home to the studio, I decided to immediately order one with my own money and get it here as soon as possible to make a video of it. When I was at the show, I didn't notice any flaws because the speaker system on the Casio really isn't the greatest. It faces away from you, and the NAMM is noisy. So with those two factors coupled together, I really couldn't even hear what I was doing, so I didn't notice any issues with either digital piano. When I got the PX-S3000 here to the studio, though, and pulled it out of the package and began playing it, I immediately noticed something was off about the action. And it didn't take me very long to realize that the thing that's off about it is that the black keys are significantly lighter than the white keys. This is an issue that's exclusive only to the PX-S1000 and 3000, as far as I know, or perhaps anything else that uses this action, although I think that's exclusive to these two instruments. And as a result, this isn't anything that you'd find in any other digital piano or acoustic piano. Having the black keys, all the black keys, be consistently lighter than all of the white keys is a very strange issue that leads to a number of different issues when playing. Which I won't dive into here. I talked about that in the other videos, but needless to say, I really can't endorse this action. If this was a $300 digital piano, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but the PX-S3000, the one that I bought, is almost $900. It's like $850. I bought mine for $800. It's pretty expensive to have such a large issue like this, and that's not even the only issue with it. So I really can't endorse this action, and that's what I said in my first video, titled Hypertruth, the Casio PX-S3000. In that video, I got a large number, this onslaught of comments, in fact, saying a number of different things, but they were all kind of in the same vein. Some were saying that I'm a liar, some were saying that I'm an idiot, some were saying that it's misinformation and that it wasn't true. A large number of people were saying that what I said about the action simply wasn't true, and they were making fun of me for it. What's more interesting than that, though, because that happens on a regular basis, let's be honest, what's more interesting than that, though, is that so many of the comments actually said the exact same words. They were practically copy-pasted from one to the other, even though, because of the way we have the comment section set up, neither commenter could see each other. So I had a funny feeling that it was coming from somewhere, and I was honestly even thinking that it might have been coming from Casio, although I didn't say anything about it because I had absolutely zero proof of that. But we'll talk more about that in this video. Because of those comments, however, even though no one ever got to see them, I did decide to make a second video regarding the PX-S3000, and that's where I pulled out these devices called gram weights. I don't have them on me, but they're about 10 feet away in the studio, and they're little brass weights that are used by professional piano technicians to measure the down weight and up weight of a piano's action. They set the weight on the key and watch the key slowly go down, which will determine how many grams it takes to depress the key. I decided to use these weights on the PX-S3000 just for fun to see if it proved my point, and indeed it did. It showed that the black keys were about 10 or 15 grams, I don't remember the exact numbers now, but they were about 10 or 15 grams lighter than the white keys, which again is, in my opinion, completely unacceptable. Obviously a digital piano won't feel just like a real acoustic piano, but most of them are playable. And technically the PX-S3000 is playable too, but not very well. It really doesn't feel great, and this is something that, in my opinion, is just unacceptable of a digital piano of this price point. So when I did that video, I kind of thought everything was all done and all said and all done, I guess that's the saying, even though there were still an onslaught of comments saying kind of the same things that I said before, or that they said before, that I was lying and this isn't true and it was rigged and all kinds of stuff like that. However, it was brought to my attention, though, that Casio, in a recent live stream, actually addressed this video and mentioned it in their own video, and they talked about the issues with the PX-S3000. However, they didn't do it in a way that I really thought that they would, so I figured I would talk about that in today's video. But the first thing I wanted to address, that is something that Casio and a few others have mentioned, is the fact that I moderate the comments, and this is in fact true. A lot of the times I get biased comments from companies or from people who are selling products. I've had people who literally have, like, you know, the name of their company and like their music store or whatever in the title, and they're trying to redeem something that really isn't very good at all. And because I run an honest channel and I'm not biased by anyone, I'm not sponsored by anyone, and I'm just literally here to give my own opinions and the true, honest thoughts about instruments, I don't want biased comments in the comment section of this video for a couple of reasons. The biggest one, though, being that if somebody comes along and leaves an opinion that's different from mine in the comment section, they'll just form this bickering in the comment section that I really don't think we need here on the channel. This is a music appreciation channel, not an online forum designed for bickering and debating. Those places are great, and they're a perfect place to do that, but that place, honestly, is not my comment section. So now let's talk about Casio's video that they did, and I will show you some clips of it here, and I will just kind of interrupt it and talk about each individual point that I want to talk about. In the description, and maybe also a pinned comment, I will put a link to their video if you want to watch it in full. It'll be a timestamp starting off at the same point that my clip starts off in, so you won't have to watch all 40 minutes of it. So if you want to see that full thing, that will be in the description and the comment section, but let me show you my clip, and I'll just interject in the middle and talk about the different things I wanted to discuss.
Jesse, we know what you're referring to there. That's not something that we can really talk about without divulging too much of the internal design of the instrument.
So the first thing here that I noticed that Casio talked about is the fact that they don't want to divulge too much of the internal design of the instrument, which I find kind of interesting. What is Casio hiding, if anything? Probably nothing, honestly, but it is interesting that they don't even want to say what's going on. As you know, I have a PX-S3000. I bought it. It's my own. Casio didn't send it to me. And if there's enough feedback on this video, maybe I'll do a video where I take this apart and check out the action and try to see what exactly is going on the inside. Let me know what you think about that video. I think that might be kind of fun.
So that test is not an accurate representation of how a Privia feels to play.
The next thing here is that Rich says, this test is not an accurate representation of how a Privia feels to play, which is kind of interesting. I mentioned at in the beginning of this video that gram weights are used by professional piano technicians, like professionals, the same ones who would regulate a Steinway to be used on stage or to regulate a Fazioli to be played by Herbie Hancock. These same professional piano tuners would use some variation of brass gram weights. So if professional piano tuners use professional gram weights to be able to identify the gram weight, the amount of weight it takes to depress a key, why isn't it an accurate representation of how the Casio Privia feels to play? Kind of interested in their logic there.
PX-S1000 and 3000, they're some of the best feeling digital pianos in the world. You cannot just put a weight only on the very end of a key and judge the way it feels by that.
This kind of answers a little bit of their logic there. He says you cannot put a weight only on the end of a key and judge the way it feels by that. And technically, he is right, because when you play the piano, like for example, if I put my hands on the first opening bar of Moonlight Sonata here, excuse the thunder in the background, you'll see there that my middle finger is way in the back of that black key. So technically, yes, Rich does have a point there. But again, I do want to point out again that professional piano technicians use these gram weights, and let me show you a couple of videos of it, in fact, actually. Here's a video of it, somebody using here a gram weight on their upright piano, and you can see there, look at where he puts it. He puts it at the very front of the key. Here's one that's like from a professional piano restoration service. If I remember correctly, it's from Chups. I'm not really you know, what's the word here I'm looking for? I'm not really endorsing them. I know nothing at all about them, but they are a well-known technician service. So here's a video of them using a professional gram weight, little different variation of the one I used, but the same idea. And look at where they're putting it. They're putting it at the front of the key to test out the weight of the key. You may notice a extra little lead weight towards the back of the key. That's because they're trying to decide where they should put in additional lead weights into the key to make it balance out correctly, but that isn't related. In the first video I showed you, wow, that is some intense thunder. In that first video there that I showed you, you will definitely see that the weight is at the beginning of the key. So that, I think, is interesting, that Casio thinks you can't put a weight of the key and accurately judge the weight of the key. It's good enough for piano technicians, so why isn't it good for a PX-S3000?
Cannot just put a weight only on the very end of a key and judge the way it feels by that. Go by reviews. Go by what people are actually saying.
I know what video you're referring to, and that's exactly the way to put it, because no one plays the piano just with their finger at the edge of a key. And unless you're dealing with something with the full length of a grand piano,
Right.
such as our grand hybrid piano, every portable digital piano has a sacrifice in some way.
The next thing here that I think is kind of interesting is, I believe it was from Mike Martin, who's down in the bottom left corner of the video, saying that every portable digital piano has a sacrifice in some way. And that honestly is also true. Every digital piano, portable digital piano especially, does have a sacrifice in some way. The main two sacrifices that most digital pianos will have regarding the action is the fact that they don't feel exactly like a real acoustic piano, and honestly, even though some come close, none have truly replicated the feel of a real acoustic piano. And the other issue that many digital pianos have is that as you move your fingers in towards the key, like I demonstrated earlier, the action gets heavier and heavier. Even on this instrument down here, which some of you may recognize, it's much more expensive than the PX-S3000. Even this has that issue to some extent, but this is easily one of the worst I have ever seen. If your fingers are back towards the back of the keys, it's very, very difficult to even play the key at all. It is doable, but it is very difficult. And that is another small issue. Well, not small, but it's smaller than the other issue I mentioned earlier. It is another issue with the PX-S3000. This was done because they want it to be as compact as possible, and so the balance point of the lever for the key is probably like right around here. So when your finger's towards the back of the key, it's right on that balance point, and it's very difficult to push the key down. So yes, every digital piano does have its sacrifices, but the PX-S3000 and 1000 have more than most.
And measuring just in one part of the key isn't going to truly represent the way it feels when you're playing it.
And again, he comes back with that same point. Again, measuring in one part of the key isn't going to truly represent the way it feels when you're playing it. And again, technically that is right, because like I said, you will move your fingers inwards towards the keys, and they will feel differently, especially on a digital piano, because the key is going to be heavier towards the back, especially with the PX-S3000. So yes, you're right, but also, again, the gram weights are perfectly good for piano technicians, but yet when I use them, it's not really the same thing. So I've kind of failed to see the logic there. But yes, measuring one part of the key isn't going to truly represent the way it feels, but it is going to give us the accurate gram weight of each key, and it did prove that the black keys are lighter than the white keys.
Yeah, Jesse, nothing was overlooked. The action is not flawed at all. We're incredibly proud of the response that we get from the Preview PX-S1000 and 3000, and just about everybody who reviews it is happy with it too.
Yeah. We think it feels amazing too. So, all right.
The final thing that I think is kind of funny here is that nothing was overlooked. The action is not flawed at all, which I believe was coming from Rich again. And I definitely think that things were overlooked and that the action definitely is flawed. A beginning pianist may not be able to tell, and perhaps there needs to be people on the Casio team who have spent many years playing real acoustic pianos to be able to find flaws in the digital piano. I find it kind of crazy that this issue has actually made it out of the factory, and that Casio is actively defending this issue. I really expected them to come out with a new product line that addresses this issue, a revamped version of the PX-S3000, because there are a number of things that I do actually like about it. You can run it off of batteries, which I think is awesome. It has a very slim, modern form factor, and while it does gather fingerprints, as you may be able to see, it still looks pretty nice. Also, the default piano sound on here is probably one of the best in the sub-$1,000 category. It genuinely sounds warm and nice and has some nice detail to it. And there's a few other sounds in there that aren't great, but are pretty fun. So I think Casio could have a really, really fantastic digital piano here if the action, and possibly the speakers as well, were revamped a bit, but instead they decided to stick with it and just defend the Casio PX-S3000 to no end, which I do understand. Obviously they did put a lot of R&D into researching this action and coming up with it and creating it, but at the end of the day, things were overlooked, and the action is indeed flawed. The issue with the keys getting heavier in towards the end is a bit more of a complex situation than the black keys being lighter than the white keys. Obviously, to have a really compact action, you need to have a really short fulcrum. And when you're doing that, that definitely is going to be a sacrifice, as if I remember correctly, it was Mike Martin said. That definitely is going to be a sacrifice here of the Casio PX-S3000 is that fulcrum. I don't know if there's really any way to get around that besides using a longer key lever. But the bigger issue, and by far the easier issue to fix, is the white keys being lighter than the white keys. All that needs to be done is the weights need to be increased on the black keys, and voila, your problem is solved. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, maybe I'll take it apart and find out, but I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that is going to be holding back the Casio PX-S3000 on action-wise, aside from the keys getting heavier in towards the back. So that, I think, is basically everything that I wanted to discuss here in this video. Again, Rich, it was really, really fantastic meeting you at the NAMM show, and I definitely hope that we can meet again, hopefully on good terms, and perhaps discuss things if that is something you wanted to do. It's okay either way for me, but I did want to make this video here regarding the PX-S3000. I did want to mention that, you know, I'm not angry, I'm not mad. This video isn't made as some kind of a comeback thing or anything like that. I just wanted to discuss this and talk about what Casio has mentioned in their recent live stream regarding this instrument. And the final thing I wanted to talk about here, which is probably one of the most interesting, is that in the description, actually in the comment section, of Casio's recent video, a person left a long comment regarding what I said in my video and all that stuff, and Casio responded to their comment saying something along the lines of that I am moderating the comments. Now, I find that really interesting, because one thing that you must know, and any companies or people watching this video must understand, is that I literally will read every single comment that is left on my channel. Literally every single one. And every time someone leaves a comment, I will always look at their username to see who is leaving the comment. And if it seems interesting, a lot of the times we will actually visit that channel to see what they do on that channel. So as a result, I will always notice famous people like Mr. Beast or Daniel Thrasher or piano companies. I actually recently had Jared Radnich left a comment on one of my videos, and some of you may know who he is. He's an absolutely phenomenal pianist. I definitely notice when big names leave comments on my channel. I had Mason and Hamlin's piano company channel leave a comment on one of my other videos before. I never saw Casio Music Gear leave a comment, but yet somehow they know that I am moderating the comments and removing any that are completely false and misinformation, and also that are speaking completely bad about me. Some of them used some rather foul language. I'm definitely not saying Casio did that, but it's a little bit odd, and I definitely suspect, it's my opinion, that Casio has been using fake accounts and alt accounts to leave comments on my video. That's kind of sneaky. I much rather would have appreciated Casio just to literally use their parent account and leave a comment on my video, because if that was the case, I definitely wouldn't have removed it. I probably would have pinned the comment, given it a heart, and even replied to it. So that, I think, would have been a much better approach for Casio. Perhaps in the future they'll perhaps do the same if I keep reviewing Casio products, but honestly that's a bit unlikely. So that is something else that I wanted to talk about. I do not know for sure. Someone else might have told Casio, but it's possible, and it's my opinion, that Casio may have been leaving comments under alt accounts, shell accounts, to try to influence the comment section of the video, which I definitely do not need on those videos. So I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. Again, if there's enough feedback on taking apart this Casio and analyzing the action, definitely let me know, and if I get enough feedback, I will do that video. So definitely feel free to leave a comment down below about what your opinions are. If Casio's watching this, it would be kind of nice if they left a feedback, but, you know, you guys don't have to. It's totally fine. But definitely, if any of you other guys have any opinions of the Casio, my videos, any of that stuff, feel free to leave it down in the comment section of the video, but do keep things polite if you can. I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. It's been a very, very interesting saga here with the PX-S3000 that now has a lot more drama in it than I had originally expected. I kind of thought things were all done when I made that second video, but apparently Casio didn't think so. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, you might want to go check out my channel. Like I said, if you're new here, you also might want to go see the first two videos, probably the second one. The first one is 40 minutes long, but the second one probably is even a bit more interesting, to be honest with you. But feel free to watch both if you want to, and I do have many other videos on the channel as well if you're new. I've got cool videos about acoustic pianos, digital pianos, organs, harpsichords, and all kinds of other cool stuff too. So if any of that sounds cool, you might want to think about subscribing. And if you do subscribe, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.